And the battered women's movement has been incredibly successful and effective at reaching and providing services for girls and women and the children of women and girls who are being abused by men, oftentimes against really difficult odds and difficult social and financial constraints. And the movement has been successful. However, one thing that hasn't really changed that much is the level of violence being perpetrated by men against women. In other words, all the services in the world for the women and their children is not going to stop men from abusing women unless men get involved and men hold each other accountable. So what I'm here to do today is to talk briefly about how men can do that, how we as men, especially those of us who are not abusive, can play a role, and a powerful and important role, in preventing the violence from happening in the first place, so that eventually one day, maybe it's 5 years or 10 years or 20 years from now, the levels of abuse will have gone down so much that organizations like HAWC eventually will be either put out of business or will have very little work to do.
What you just saw was Jackson Katz at the HAWC Community Forum from 1997, HAWC being Help for Abused Women and Their Children. Good evening, my name is Kyle Butler-Harris, and tonight what we're going to do is take a look at what was the result of that speech that Jackson gave us that evening, and what it was the Men for HAWC. And tonight we have with us members from the Men for HAWC. Welcome, gentlemen, for coming in. I just want to introduce you and say who you are. First of all, in the back row on the left, we've got Willie Greenbaum. Next to him is Pat O'Donnell. Next to Pat, Michael La Riviera. In the front row, Jim Ryan, and then Ed LeClaire. Okay, first of all, this is just 5 of you, and I know there are many, many more. Jim, we're going to start with you. Could you just give me a little bit of a background and profile as to who these Men for HAWC are?
Well, Kyle, we've been meeting for over a year now, and we have about 100 members. We meet monthly. We have about 30 people show up at each meeting, which is wonderful. And we have a whole range of people. We span the age group from students in high school all the way through, and coming from all backgrounds, professional level, educators, college professors, social workers, but we also have carpenters and accountants, and we have a very strong, steady contingent from law enforcement in the district attorney's office. So we have it really, but everybody has, if they come on a professional level, they really have either quickly developed a passion for wanting to do something that's something different, what they've been doing in the past, and really have developed a passion for the work they've done. And I also want to mention, too, that it's just not men. We have also a strong contingent of women, women that represent the community as well as represent HAWC, Help for Abused Women and Children.
Mm-hmm. And is it just because HAWC, if everyone knows, I assume everyone knows that HAWC is based in Salem. Are we just looking at people from Salem and from the Salem area?
No, we have people that represent really almost the whole North Shore, all the way from Gloucester on down.
Mm-hmm. And when you mention these women, is in addition to HAWC board members, are there wives or sisters or? Yes,
we have different people that come from, that are associated with HAWC, different capacities. People who are associated on a professional level all the way through just people who are concerned about the issues for years. It gives a nice blend to what we're trying to do. It's not just solely just a group of men. It's really a mix.
Okay. Now, you all joined for a specific reason. I'm going to start with you in the back, Michael. I just want you to tell me a little bit about your background and why and how you became involved with Men for HAWC.
Okay, I'm a police officer for the Salem Police Department, and just a few months out of the academy, I responded to a domestic violence incident where I pulled up to the scene. I could hear yelling and screaming upstairs coming from the second floor. I could hear someone being hit, screaming for help. I can remember running up the stairs and having to force the door open because no one could come to the door. Someone was being beaten in the house. So myself and another officer from the department forced open the door. The other officer went into where the disturbance was coming from, and the first thing I saw when I went through the door was 2 small girls sitting on a couch watching television. They were watching cartoons. They were about the same age as my 2 girls. And that just, it really stuck with me. I couldn't forget their faces when I walked in the door. And professionally, being a police officer, that's something that really stuck with me. Since then, I've had the opportunity to become the department's domestic violence officer, so I can do a lot in that role to help these families and to make a difference. And when I went home that night and I looked at my two girls, it didn't take long to have a personal interest in it, being a father of two girls, being a brother. I have two sisters. I'm a son. I'm a husband. So.
Is this now that you're heading the domestic violence unit? So this is something. Prior to this, did you see this quite often?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not. I should correct that. I'm not heading the domestic violence unit. There's.
No, correct me. Okay.
Lieutenant Audrey Sullivan's in charge of the domestic
Okay.
violence unit, and I'm the officer that does the investigations and the training.
But you've seen this before.
Yes.
So it was just this incident with the two girls that made you say, I've
That
gotta
was the
do
beginning.
more.
It was just a few months out of the academy, and that was just something that, it doesn't take long when you respond to these incidents and you see the effects of domestic violence on children, on the families, and the barriers that are in place that keep the victims from getting in touch with someone in law enforcement and getting in touch with the services that HAWC offers. It doesn't take long to being a police officer and wanting to help people to want to make a difference.
Right. Great. Let's move on. Pat, you're the youngest one here. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you got involved with Men for HAWC.
Well, Ray Carey is a member of Men for HAWC, and he's also my track coach at St. John's Prep. And last spring, he urged a couple of the kids on the track team to participate in the Walk for HAWC. So a couple of us did that, and then later that spring, we had to sign up for our senior year courses, and one of the courses was social action, which entails you have to do 3 hours of community service each week. So we decided, since we had done the Walk for HAWC, that we should continue working with HAWC. And in doing service at HAWC, we came to the Men for HAWC meetings and came associated with that. And now the class has ended, but we're still continuing working with HAWC and Men for HAWC.
So have you ever, and one thing I've heard is that, domestic violence happens at any age, abusing happens at a younger age, it happens quite often in high school. Have you ever experienced or known anyone that has gone through this, any girls in your school?
Well, St. John's Prep is an all-male
All-boys school,
so-
okay. Scratch that. Do you know any girls in other schools other than your own?
I have known some girls who have had problems with boyfriends and things like that, so it does happen on all age levels.
So does this give you a different perspective on it now?
Yeah, it does give you a deeper understanding for the whole issue.
And what about your peers in school?
Well, my peers, we have introduced it into the school, which I will talk about later, so.
But it's not like anybody saying, oh, you're fighting for a girl's cause or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, I'm sure there are people who say things like that, but most of the results are positive. So.
Okay, good. And Willie, tell me about your background and how you got involved.
Yeah, but before I do, I'd like to say that there are quite a few men around like us who started about a year and a half ago each for their own reasons to call HAWC and call Margot Casey, the director of HAWC, and say, how can we help? So this is just representative of something that's going on. There's some kind of a sense that men have got to start taking responsibility for this. And mine comes in two parts. One is dealing with a close friend who was abused as a child and just really had to deal with the consequences of it when she hit her late 20s and early 30s. She was abused by her stepfather. And being really close to that situation and seeing what the consequences are. And the other is that a good friend opened the office for HAWC in Gloucester, thinking that there would be maybe a 3-year lag before women in Gloucester would come forward and say they needed help or needed support. And it was more like 3 days or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And there were many women ready to join groups, move to a secret house where they'd be safe,
Yep.
get away from their partners. And then hearing so much of what was going on made me think the women definitely shouldn't be alone in this, that we have to get a lot of men to stand up and speak in our communities.
So there was a big surprise that 3-year turning into a few days.
Right.
Was it specifically because it's in the Gloucester area and there's always some stigma about Gloucester being maybe upper class and this doesn't happen in this community? Or
No, I don't think so. Not so much Gloucester for that, but there are certainly people. HAWC is assuring us it goes across class groups, and Gloucester's got a great mix of people.
Okay,
So.
great. Jim, tell us your story.
Well, I've been involved in the issue to some capacity for a number of years, and when I first started, there weren't many men involved in this topic. It was really kind of labeled as a women's issue, and it never really sat right with me, and I always felt that this was an issue, like Jackson Katz says, it was a man's issue. And so you know, when HAWC kind of approached me, I'd work with them, and we started talking about Men for HAWC and what we could do. I jumped at the chance, and I think it's a really exciting opportunity. I do build coalitions, and I help bring people together for a living, and but this is a real passion for me, because I've never seen a group like this, you know, have the energy, have the passion, have the commitment, like I've seen other groups that come together on substance abuse issues or other issues. So it's really exciting. So I'm really pleased to be part of it.
Okay. And Ed, let's hear Ed LeClaire's story.
Thanks. Mine is really like a lot of the other guys. It has two parts. Professionally, I've been working in the criminal justice system for 30 years. And my first 5 years was in state prison. My second 5 years was with parolees. And then I made a decision to come and teach at Salem State College. And so I started working with police departments. And the first thing I noticed is that the best relationship between the police departments and the community were with some of the agencies, and I noticed that HAWC was a prominent one. At the same time, I was doing a lot of lecturing at the college, and I noticed when I gave my introductory lecture on what date rape was, every year I had 1 or 2 women come up and say, that happened to me, but I didn't know I could say no. And this was 20 years ago, and that's when I met Margot. She was there to take the references and the calls, and I knew before I even met her that what she was doing was very effective, because my students were giving me the feedback. So then I concentrated on working in domestic violence and police, and became a member of the board of advisors to a domestic violence unit where I live. I live about an hour from here in the Concord-Carlisle area. And then they asked me if I would do some training. And so for the last 20 years, I've been working with police and domestic violence advocates and agencies, trying to get the police and the agencies and the community more aware of this. So that was my professional 30 years, but what really happened that instilled the passion that I have is 9 years ago, when my 10-year-old daughter told me that she really didn't want me to coach her anymore, now that I had gotten her to the state championship for her all-girls soccer team. And I asked her why, and she said, "You're just too loud, Dad. You know, it embarrasses me." And I said, "Yeah, I know, honey, but you know, I apologize, and I buy the kids ice creams if I yell at them." And she said, and there's one other thing. Sometimes when you yell, you get a scary look in your eye, and it scares me. And if you've ever been a teacher or a parent or a mentor, you know there's a moment when a kid says something to you that if you listen to the next moment, you're going to hear something that may be uncomfortable. And what I heard was that my daughter loved me, and that I scared her on these moments when I would yell. And I said something that really surprised me. I said, "You remember last year when you asked me why do women stay with men who abuse them?" I said, "I never realized it, but maybe, you know, you might meet a boy in high school that had this angry look in his eye sometimes, and it might remind you of me. And so we got to change this look." And that was 9 years ago, and I've been practicing to make sure that look has never come back, and she's been helping me. And I have 2 daughters, and this is both now a professional and a personal commitment to really be able to look at some of the subtle things that we train our daughters and our sisters and our wives and our mothers, and to be able to stand up and identify that without basically taking sides, because I know that a lot of men are victims of violence too. I've seen it. But I've made a choice to work with women and children, because I know in my 30 years of criminal justice work, the single greatest victims in the world, not only in this country, are children first and women second. And I feel that that's why I'm here, and the group of men that are here are really an amazing group of men. As Jim said, we've got a whole range of people from various classes, various occupations, various ages, and I've never heard such a cross-age group learn from each other as well as we do. So I'm really proud to be part of it, and I'm proud to be working with HAWC.
Great story.
Thank you.
Let me just talk about a little bit of the accomplishments that you guys haven't been together that long, but you have some great accomplishments. Number one would be the Walk for HAWC, which is an annual event that happens. This is the 7th year of the Walk for HAWC, happening the last Sunday in April. It happens every year the last Sunday in April. And Willie, this year you guys were out there and you had Walk for HAWC t-shirts, Men for HAWC t-shirts and hats, and you were really identified. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how that all came about?
The walk is one of the main fundraising events of the year for HAWC. It has been. And we found out in participating as a group, Men for HAWC, that there are scattered men that have been participating all the prior years, and not as a class of people lending support, but as individuals showing up from various towns. So by doing this, we were able to both give some more visibility to the fact there were lots of newspaper articles in Salem, Lynn, Gloucester, Beverly, Boston Globe, to let people know that men are caring and starting to stand up and say something. And we were able to raise some money, probably came to $900 to $1,000, $1,200, something like that, and get some other men from our towns to come and do the walk with us.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys all walk?
Yeah.
Were you all walkers? Was it the first time?
Yes.
I mean, not as a group, but was it the first time you all walked?
Yeah.
It was the first time I walked in the North Shore because I live another place. I walked for the Jane Doe. Matter of fact, that's where I met Margaret the first time. I hadn't met her for 3 years, but I worked with her.
And what did you think about it? Were you surprised? I mean, I think every year it gets bigger and bigger. And every year, you know, we raise that goal every year, which we're doing again this year. But every year it seems we just always seem overwhelmed. When I say we, because I sit on the board of directors for HAWC. And so that's just to clarify that. I know that you guys know that, but it is our major fundraiser, and every year we're so glad that it gets bigger and bigger, and the diversity is amazing. You know, we look at a video clip of the walk, and we see all different ages, we see all different colors, we see, you know, men, women, and children, and it's a great thing. You know, so how did that feel walking for HAWC? Was that like a, you know, well, I don't know if you walked, you must have seen your comrades directing traffic, which is always a great thing to get that support.
We actually had 25 or 30 officers that joined our walk team. It was incredible.
Yeah, and it's great to see the officers out there, you know, directing the traffic, and you know, I mean, which a lot of people say, you know, well, that's what they're supposed to do, but we are walking in the middle of the town. We're walking in the middle of the street on a busy spring Sunday afternoon where there's lots of traffic, and we do get a lot of support, and we appreciate it.
I was really impressed with the support I got from Salem State College. We raised about $1,000, and we had something like 60 or 70 sponsors. So, and it was contagious. People started talking about it. They were very interested in it. It was very exciting.
Yeah, good. Now, another thing that you also should be mentioned, that I should also mention, is the community awards. The beginning of the tape, we showed the 1997 with Jackson Katz, and then you guys received a community award this year. Ed, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was a public honor to actually stand on the platform with these guys. Willie couldn't make it, but his daughter was there, and here Margot, who is really not only the director of HAWC, she's really the I think the leadership focus in the North Shore. Say words and give us a plaque that we could take back. Really cemented in my mind the public component of what we're doing, and I also want to thank you for giving us this chance of talking with you tonight. It really is helpful, and I hope that if any of you viewers are watching who have any interest, that they pick up the telephone numbers that you're going to give them and contact us. Thank you very much.
And this grew out of that.
Let's talk a little bit about your biggest accomplishment, should we call it?
So far.
Your list of a dozen things men can do. How did this come about, Jim?
Well, we decided that, after meeting for about 6 months that we needed to really do something. I mean, we were doing a lot, we were meeting, we were learning from each other, but we really needed to outreach to other men and the community, and we decided that we would start simple and we would come up with a list of a dozen things that men could do to stop men's violence against women. And so we took the easy way out. Instead of creating our own list, we stole it from other lists. List that Jackson had come up with, lists that other people across the country and in Canada had developed. And we tried to tailor it in the group to the North Shore and what it meant to us to keep it simple. And so we came up with a dozen things, the first one being recognizing that domestic violence is every man's responsibility. It's kind of our premise, of why we come together. To speak up, don't be a bystander, challenge men who use sexist language against women, ask women, how the threat of violence has affected them. And we really, in the work we do in the group, we really try to spend time learning about the issue because we think that's part of the solution. It's really addressing it. We also identify in the list that it's a crime. That if it's happening, that you need to confront it. You need to call and get help. You need to call 911 if it's an abusive situation. But also we try to incorporate things such as recognizing how the media plays and boycotting the media when they use that use degrading images of women. Mm-hmm. So we try to incorporate different things. We also try to incorporate the aspect of teaching younger men, bringing younger men on board, teaching them the importance of the issue and being a good role model, as well as recognizing that some men are batterers, that are abusers, and that they need to understand that there's help out there for them. So that's part of the list also. And then finally, the best thing that men can do is really join the group and be part of the group and learn, see how they can bring it back to their community, as well as supporting HAWC.
Mm-hmm. Now you've got the flyer here.
Right.
We just did see it on tape, but how does the distribution work?
Well, we've printed up, how much?
9,000.
Yeah.
Several thousand.
7,000.
Yeah.
And most of them out, and we've tried to target specific areas. A great example of is not just to hand them out to people, but really for people to read it and discuss it, and then decide how they can actually use it in their lives. And a great example of that is what Pat did at St. John's Prep.
And what did Pat do at St. John's Prep?
Well, there are 4 seniors in Men for HAWC from St. John's Prep, and being an all-male school, it's a really good environment to introduce the issue of domestic violence. So first, we took about 1 or 2 ideas from this flyer, and on a big poster board, put up 2 ideas and posted them through the hallways in school, so that when kids were walking by, they would, it would catch their eye and they would notice the different things. And then we, Mr. Carey helped create, each flyer would be, let's see, in the freshman and senior English classes and junior and sophomore history classes, the teacher would pass out a flyer to each of the students, and then for 45 minutes during that class, they would have a big discussion about the flyer and their thoughts on it and their feelings, so that all 1,100 kids in the school would be introduced to this domestic violence issue and the dozen things men can do.
Wow.
So.
Now, there were other men, young men on the in Men for HAWC from other high schools as well?
Yeah, we have representatives from a couple of different areas, Swampscott and some of the local colleges, and as well as some of the older members who were involved last year and have gone on, have come back. Some of the young men that were involved last year went on to different colleges and started their own programs there. So that's some of our successes, that we.
I mean, I'm thinking that's a great idea to do that, and I'm wondering if it works in your school, I bet it would work in all the area schools.
Well, that's what we're hoping that will happen. Is we've really created a tool that people can use in schools or in their communities or in different groups, in different levels. And we're hoping our next step is really that people maybe develop curriculums around it, or use it in different ways, because just reading it won't change anything. It's really the behavior change needs to come from discussing it and really looking at it as changing behaviors of different men.
Mm. So you've done the Walk for HAWC, you've got your community award, you've got a list of 12 things that men can do. What's next? What are your future goals?
Kyle, I think one of a broad way of talking about what we're trying to do is to change the expectations in our communities one by one, as members of those communities, and build constituencies of men that are ready to say something. So that I think it's useful to think about this as an issue, something like the drunk driving issue 20 years ago or 25 years ago, when everyone in my high school just got drunk and drove. I mean, there was no opinion about it at all.
Right.
It just was part of life. And when you think about how much that has changed in a 20 or 25-year period, it's really dramatic. And that's what we're after here. In other words, in a place like Gloucester or Lynn or Salem or Beverly, we're trying to say, or Hamilton, Wenham, and
or any community USA.
Yeah, Boxford. we're trying to get men to say, this is not the way it is. This is not the way it's supposed to be. This isn't okay. And the expectation is, and Jackson Katz talks about this very well, that a lot of it would go away if it was really not acceptable in the community. And then there'll be some that'll be more difficult. But a lot of it is part of our culture. It's what people think a man should be doing. And we need to change that image of what it is to be a man. That's what we're working on.
And that comes best from men, I suppose.
And,
yes,
there's another approach that I'm particularly interested in, and that is that many of us as men are working on ourselves. And not in a negative way. Once we recognize that, like Willie said, that we were brought up to basically drink and drive as kids in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, we were also brought up to think that a guy had his castle, and a guy had his wife, and a guy had his kids. Those changes are very subtle. And while we're doing some public area, my specific area is more importantly how we as individuals change that, which is a lesson my daughter taught me.
Great. Anybody want to add to that? Any comments?
Well, we're hoping to create some real programs, different programs that people can institute into their, communities, or schools that will continue to address this issue and continue to challenge the way men think. So long after Men for HAWC are gone, that the work we've done has continued. So we're talking about maybe creating Speakers Bureau for men and creating curriculum that can happen in the schools, and you do other events and other marketing of the issue in different ways, and we'll see where we are 5 years from now. So.
Great. Now, if somebody wanted to get in touch with Men for HAWC, or somebody wanted to join Men for HAWC, and there are men out there watching, and they want to get involved, I know that you can call HAWC, Margot Casey at HAWC, at 978-744-8552, or they could call Ed or Willie as well, and your phone number is up on the screen.
Right.
And before we close out, which we're just about running out of time, we also want to mention again the Walk for HAWC, which is happening on Sunday, April 25th. And we expect to see you guys there. We're hoping to see everyone else there. If men want to walk for HAWC, can they contact you?
Sure. And if they don't want to walk, they can also call and sponsor me to walk.
Okay, so, sponsor you specifically to walk, right?
Either way.
Or they can sponsor me.
I think it's okay. So if you can walk, great. And if you can't walk, then you can contact the HAWC office, or you can contact any of these guys here. I won't even say specifically who, and and sponsor you as well, or volunteering as well.
There's some volunteer opportunities.
Volunteering.
Working one of the booths.
Yep. There's volunteering. There's setup. There's breakdown. There's walking. It's a full day.
It's an opportunity time to find out about Men for HAWC. We'll be there, so you can ask us more about it.
Great.
Our meetings are held once a month at Salem State, so in terms of access, it's easy for lots of people.
Okay, and they can contact you guys or,
Yeah,
or
about
Margot
sure.
at the
When
Hawk?
and
If they
where.
need to know how to get there, they can give me a call. I'll give them directions. No problem.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all, Jim, Willie, Pat, Michael, and Ed. And that's it for
Wow.
Men for HAWC for this night and this evening in this program. However, once again, if you are interested in joining or if you'd like to help out or know more, you can contact the HAWC officer or call Willie or Ed, whose phone number you just saw. Have a good night.